in relationships, having things in common can seem really comfortable. It's desirable to be able to have that commonality. But it's interesting how that can be very helpful, but what if the commonality is not real? What if it's actually not real at all? And you're believing that this person you're in a relationship with has the same thought processes or characteristics or behaviors, but they really don't. And they've actually taken on a complete different identity of yours. In today's video, I want to explain what that is and how to understand if it's happening in a relationship that you're in right now. Welcome back, friends. It's me, Berges here today. I usually say this at the end of the video, but I'm going to say it now. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel because it really helps us out. It makes us know that we're doing something right. Also, liking this video is awesome too, and commenting. And if you haven't already joined, join. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. And I definitely want to hear from you, so definitely reach out and comment because I do respond back to comments all the time. I want to talk about this concept of mirroring. Many people call it the chameleon effect. And when we think about mirroring and we understand the concept, it's about imitating and copying another person's behaviors, their traits, even the way they speak, their characteristics, their mannerisms. And it's very challenging to spot because many of us want to be in relationships where we have a lot of things in common. It's great when somebody likes the same music we like. It's awesome when somebody maybe dresses very similar, has the same things that they like, even the same comments or behaviors. Maybe there's a comment that you make and they make the same comment and it's kind of cute. And you're like, wow, we even talk the same. We can almost finish each other's sentences. That can be good, but sometimes that's not real. And when we're dealing with someone that has a tendency of mirroring another person, basically that person is borrowing that person's self-image. And so this is very important to talk about because many people don't realize what's happening in the very beginning, and very quickly in the relationship you have all these things in common, you're feeling really good about things, and you're kind of overlooking the substance piece on this. And so I think this is going to really help us just to turn the light on to see if this is really happening in your life. The mirroring can manifest in different ways, and so this might not necessarily even be a romantic relationship. This could actually be with a friend. And recently I was talking to a client the other day, and they have this friend that's pretty close with them. And over a period of time, though, this friend has begun to buy the same clothes. Actually, they would go to the mall, and after they go to the mall, the other person will go back and buy the exact same clothes that this client has. And now it's become the jewelry that this client has. This person will actually buy the same exact jewelry and wear those outfits out with that person. Okay? Interesting enough, I've seen this go to extremes where people buy the same vehicles, where people go on the same trips, where people dress the exact same, where people take on habits of the other person, where people will buy the same perfume or cologne as that other person and wear it. And the mannerisms and the speech and the behavior is so interesting as well. And that can be interesting because it can kind of come on slowly and you're not really paying attention to it because it's kind of like hanging out with you. And so you might not catch it. Now, I've seen it in other cases as well. One of the most interesting cases I think that I've seen recently is when someone began the relationship with somebody that was very Christian-based. And this person began to take on this whole concept of Christianity and this belief and was carrying their Bible around and what have you. And so the other person was believing that this person is just as dedicated to religion as they are. They didn't realize that this was mirroring. They had never really opened the Bible, not even read the Bible, didn't really know about it. But they were under the influence and the thought that this person believed in faith and had that same faith. And that's what actually moved the relationship to the next level where they actually ended up getting married. And it wasn't for years until they realized that this was not what they really felt like. It had been a mirroring situation, okay? And the person really didn't have that connection with their religious connection and really didn't even understand it. And this can be really jarring, to be honest with you. I mean, when you catch somebody mirroring and you realize it's not just that y'all are perfect together, when you catch this, it can be jarring. And I've had clients that have caught this in romantic relationships especially, but also in these friendships because you're starting to believe a persona of that person, but the only problem is that persona is not real. That persona has been created. Now, I don't think that a lot of these folks know exactly what they're doing. Now, I'm not saying that everybody doesn't know. Some people do. But I really think that most of the time, they don't have a sense of self. They don't have a sense of identity. They do not know who they are. And when you do not know who you are, you try to fit in with whoever you're around, because that's just the way life is. So if it's a group of friends, you're going to try to fit in. You're going to do what they do. If they're drinking, if they're smoking, maybe you're drinking, you're smoking. If you're hanging out with another group of friends and they're into yoga, maybe you're now a big yogi. You know, if you're hanging out with these people, you're doing this. If you're hanging out with a significant other and their lifestyle is like that, your lifestyle becomes that, because there's no identity that's stable. And so I don't believe that people actually go to the table and say, okay, I'm going to mirror everything. I'm going to go down, I'm going to do everything, and I'm going to mimic this, and I'm going to create this false reality, and I'm going to get this person to fall in love with me, or I'm going to get this person to be my best friend because of it. I don't think that's it. I think it's out of self-preservation that people do this. The problem is that you can only keep this up so long. There's also a part of resentment, I think, that exists too for the person that's actually mirroring the other person, because eventually you are not you. And I think that it begins to change and morph. And so the fluctuating identity that we're talking about, the unstable sense of self, is what we're talking about here. And so if you feel like you're around somebody right now that has that tendency of mirroring you, wake up to it, look at it. And I'm not trying to say, hey, every single time somebody says that they have something in common with you, or they like the same things, or they happen to buy the same thing, means that they're mirroring. But let's step back a little from our fantasy world of wanting everybody to be just like us and we have all this stuff in common, and start really looking at it honestly. And I think that can be very helpful to understand really who is really close with you, but also who has that solid identity. Because ultimately, if somebody doesn't have a solid identity, how can they really be true to you? Because they don't really understand who they are, right? Because there's still that questionability of who they are. And then how can they really like what you do as well? So these are very interesting questions. I want to leave you with a couple of other thoughts. Obviously, music is the big one that people mimic. They love a certain music, and it's interesting how you'll find out later on, sometimes these people, you'll figure out they have no desire to like that music, don't even know who sang the song, but this is my favorite song. The belief system is very interesting. So if somebody's very spiritual and all of a sudden you come into contact with somebody that's basically regurgitating your words, this is something we need to be aware of. Not to say that there's not people that have the same thought process in mind, but you really need to catch it. Is it because I want them to be like me? Because I want them to be on that same page? Is it because I'm really desiring this to be true? Or is it actually true? Okay, these are very important. And then when somebody starts mimicking you, like clothes and cars and all these types of things and things that you buy, this is another red flag, okay? And I know sometimes we like it when we got other friends doing the same thing and all, but really look at it and see it for what it is. And the only reason I'm bringing this up is that we just kind of need to know who in our lives have solid identities, because those people are going to be able to, hold the test of time, because they're not going to be fluctuating, but also they're going to be true to themselves. And it also helps us to be able to communicate with somebody that actually understands themselves, and we can have deep conversations instead of having basically a conversation ultimately with ourselves. Oh, and if you missed it earlier, don't forget to subscribe or join. Definitely give us a like on this video if you like it. If you like the content, it makes us understand that we're doing something right here. And also, in the comment section, let me know, have you dealt with somebody in your life that was mirroring you? How did you figure it out? I mean, there's a lot of signs. It could be multiple things. And I'm interested because it can happen in any type of relationship. This is not just about romantic relationships. This is across the board. And sometimes, especially when it's not a romantic relationship, it can be really tough to see. But the flip side is, in a romantic relationship, we really want so badly for that person to have a lot of things in common with us that we can actually have blinders on to the situation. Oh, by the way, I say this. Don't forget, obviously, to live your true life.